Welcome to the Tech Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Vincent, and on this podcast, I interview people in tech. As always, this show is sponsored by the consulting launch method, where I help experienced tech professionals build their own consulting business alongside their day job without spending years figuring out the business side. We help clients go from first idea to initial client in 90 days and six figures within the year. So if you want to learn more about this, connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. On today's show, I'm really pleased to have Aditya Keshari with us from Vodafone. There, he's a solution architect in the um, marketplace solution architecture team for enterprise customers. So I'm looking forward to see what what he can talk about his experience. So Aditya, welcome on the show. And
Thank you, Vincent.
I always want to ask you a question that I always love to start with. It is about your career. What is the decision or the project that you're most proud of, in your career so far, and what has made it stand out for you?
Well, thank you, Vincent. That's a very interesting one. So I would say, having spent more than 20 years now in the industry, this is a very difficult choice to make because all the projects for us are different and unique. But as an architect or as a tech professional, it always is fascinating when it comes with challenges, and the magnitude of the challenges differ project by project. So since I work with a team who kind of caters the enterprise level customers and provides cloud-based solutions or offerings to them, it always comes with a technical challenge, especially in markets where we have strong regulations like Germany, like Spain or so. So yeah, I was doing one of the projects with one of our clients in Germany market, and obviously we had to cater to the workers' council requirements in Germany. So as a technical person, we always have to ensure that we keep the right balance, ensuring that we are providing a solution that kind of is fitting into that regulatory framework of that market, without like compromising the quality of the solution. So this project that we did for the Germany market was quite challenging because things kept on changing, on the fly because of the changes and the recommendations that came in from the Workers' Council. So we had to make some last minute changes. And obviously, because when you work on a regulatory project, you have a set deadline. So you have to deliver it within a set time frame. Otherwise, there can be monetary fines and things like that. So it was quite challenging for me to compile the whole solution within that time frame. But I think that's the beauty of our job, because that keeps on challenging you as a person, and
Yeah,
you can push your limits. So yeah, this is one of the recent cases that I can recall.
fantastic. Yeah, it is. You can do more than you think you can when there's some time
Yes,
pressure. Uh,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
I also have experience with the German workers councils in particular, in
Yeah,
my career, and I do understand that if anything that would challenge the timelines, I would say let's call it that, right? So I'm
definitely.
so what did you do to kind of make sure you actually did meet the deadline, because
Well,
that's yeah.
yeah. So I think, Vincent, that the kind of strategy that we followed in this particular case was that because it's a huge project with a huge list of requirements, and needless to say, in today's agile world, we have to deliver it into smaller sprints. So yes, you are delivering a smaller chunk of values to the customers. And I think for me in this particular case, the prioritization of the business requirements becomes the key, because we need to understand from a project perspective that when you're putting into a product or a service into the market, what are the key elements you are looking for when you're releasing a product from an MVP perspective. So what is your minimum viable product, and what is it that you cannot live without when you go for the initial technical release into the market. So we had some brainstorming sessions with the business stakeholders in Germany, and we agreed that okay, these are the must requirements that you should have, and we focused on that, keeping aside the rest for the next releases. And I think that kind of helped me a lot, because that kind of brought down the scope of the project for an MVP perspective, still meeting the deadlines, still adhering to the regulatory frameworks and the worker council requirements, and give it as the first tranche or a sprint, and then follow the next releases thereafter, agreeing in on a set roadmap as per the project timelines. So I think prioritization and good communication with your stakeholders becomes the key here, because ultimately at the end of the day, you are making a product for a customer. So you have to stand in a customer's shoe and understand what I would feel if I would receive this product in the first instance. So what are the key things for me as the end customer? So I think when you do that retrospectively, and when you're building on a solution, that really helps a lot. So yeah, that was the key element for me here.
Fantastic. So it's a good sort of communication with key stakeholders and
Yes.
ultimately managing the scope for the first release. That yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
get it. And and I mean, technically, I mean, how much have things changed for you, over the last 5 years, as you've looked at those projects, how have you kind of,
A lot, I would say a lot, Vincent, because the world has changed. So, needless to say, the technology also has evolved. Now, back in the day, we used to follow the waterfall method in our technology delivery life cycles. Now, that is not there anymore. Agile has taken over, and we've seen a lot of strides in Agile world as well. So, everybody wants solutions to be delivered faster, quicker, more efficient, of course, cost, friendly. So, optimize the solution as much as you can. And I think one of the key principles we follow as a design principle in Vodafone is to reuse the components. So the idea is not to reinvent the wheel every time. So, build once, deploy many is the principle that we follow. So what we do is because ours is a platform that is spanned across 13 different markets in different countries, and we try to build a solution. We try to gather in our requirements from business perspective from multiple markets, and see what is the commonality between these markets, and how can we build a solution for one market and reuse it for the other. The idea is to bring down the customization as much as possible to reduce the cost, but at the
yeah,
same time, because there are markets asking for similar features down the line here and there, with a little bit of shift in the timelines, but ultimately the requirements are pretty much similar. So we try to build a solution which can be reused across other market with little or no customization. And I think that has changed, because now what people want is people want a solution that can be the time to market has to be reduced drastically. So you build a solution which has a reduced time to market, and
yeah,
I think that gives you the competitive edge over other players in the industries, and that's what we are aiming for.
that's like, I get that. Now, related to this, right? We have obviously a lot of things changed, into the technology. But if you were starting your tech career again tomorrow,
Mm.
knowing what you know now with all those changes and transitions, from on-prem to cloud and AI and everything else, what is the one thing that you would do differently? The one thing you would tell your younger self.
Well, that's a very good question. I would say, looking at the the young players in the industry who are coming into the industry, and I we do speak to a lot of young folks, because there is a mix of people within the team. So people with varying experiences in the industry, some around 20 to 30 years spent across the industry, versus some who are literally out of the college, unis, grads.
Yeah,
And what we see is there is a big change in the mindset these days when we talk about these youngsters, and I think they're very smart. They are literally making use of the latest technologies, especially the AI, especially the I would say the automation. They are very keen to it. So back in the day, we used to, because back in the day when we started the career, the automation was not the buzzword. AI was nowhere present in the technology industry.
yeah,
Nowadays, everybody wants to master the AI stuff, be it Copilot, be it Gemini or something else, or OpenStack or anything. And what they want to do is they are kind of picking up ways to do things more smartly, more efficiently, because they want to try the new trends and the technology. So if I would have to start my career today or tomorrow, I would initially do an AI course for myself, understand the nuances, understand the whole technicality behind it. And needless to say, like every major industry player, Vodafone is also pretty much doing a lot in the AI field. So we have something called as the responsible AI standards within Vodafone, and everybody adheres to that when somebody prepares a solution on the AI using Copilot or any other platform for that matter. And I would have definitely enrolled myself for a course, get all those basics, try to embed those knowledge into my designs, and also implement it in my other BAU activities, because that would have given me more time for other productive stuff that I do, rather
Yeah.
than spending all the the day doing all the hard work, looking into the Excel, preparing reports and things like that. So I think AI has transformed the world a lot, and I think there are more things coming down the line. But yes, in today's context, that's the game changer.
And if you would go back to the pre-AI
Mhm.
days, what is anything in particular you would advise yourself to do? Is-
Well, as technocrats, we always look for industry standards. So, TOGAF for me is one of the key elements that every solution architect or enterprise architect should look forward to. So yes, TOGAF is something that I would have gone for. I could have gone for any other course related to any technology standards, which helps me standardizing my technical designs, or get familiar with the industrial frameworks related to the solution design, ensuring that we are doing things correctly, because we end up working very closely with the enterprise architects, working on the blueprints, converting them into the high level designs and so on. So there is a common technology standard across these TOGAF or the frameworks that we have in the industry to follow. And I would have definitely gone for that. Obviously, back in the day, Agile was hot cake. So
yeah.
anybody who's going into the Agile thing, be it a product owner, product manager kind of a role, definitely go for a certification for a safe Agile. And this is something that keeps you up to date with the industry trends, makes you feel that you're doing things correctly and as per the industry standards. So I would have definitely gone for that.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I've been a product manager in my career, in my early career in
Mhm,
particular. So we didn't do agile at the time.
mhm.
That shows you how old I am. Uh, but obviously agile has brought
Yeah,
tremendous benefits, to the whole
right.
development process. So yeah, but I do agree with that. So maybe sort of a final question to kind of or starting question to get
Yeah.
to, on today's podcast. But what does the next chapter of your career look like for you?
Hmm.
Where do you see yourselves in the next several years? What are you going to do?
Okay. So to be honest, I would definitely like to advance into the same, vertical that I'm currently working on. So, a usual typical, career map for a solution architect looks like you become the lead architect, or you become the enterprise architect for your organization, look for those kind of roles. Uh, on the other hand, if there are options in organizations like Vodafone, where you can go for another, set of lateral paths. You can take up, senior manager roles, working very closely for those projects, managing end to end of those projects. But depends on person to person. If you ask me honestly, I would preferably go on the technical path itself, because that keeps on going, keeps me going all the way. It kind of rekindles that energy that every other day you are faced with a new challenge. You have to do something new. So rather than taking into the managerial side of things, I would preferably go this way, because when you work on new technologies, it keeps you on your toes, and that's something I really love, because at the end of the day, I'm a technical person myself, so it keeps me going that way.
Uh, Fair enough. So not necessarily managerial, but more advanced in the
Yes,
technical
yes,
area.
yes.
And is that what's maybe the next wave of technical change that you see within Vodafone or within the kind of industry that you're in that
Mhm.
you're trying to catch on to now? What's the next thing?
Well, so I cannot fully comment on the Vodafone thing because this is like a big organization, and obviously there are multiple initiatives running in parallel. But what I see is you saw the way for big data. So big data was a big thing a couple of years ago, and everybody started looking into machine learning, big data, and all that stuff. Now we are looking into AI. Now I think the next big thing would could be that possibly what I was saying is, Vincent, like the next big thing in the industry which I see is the the managed services thing. What I mean by managed services here is that since we are catering these products and services to the enterprise customers today, and what we are trying to do is encouraging more of the self-serve capabilities, because back in the day, we used to have this concept of having the sales agents making the purchases on behalf of the customers and then managing the in-life activities for the customers. Now,
Yeah,
because of the self-serve capabilities, we are trying to provide them that ability that they can do the end-to-end themselves, sitting at home by the click of a few buttons. And obviously integrating that with the AI agents, because everybody wants to talk and get some inputs on the AI. So we are trying to collaborate that self-serve capability of selling those cloud-based offerings along with the AI agents as an integrated capability on the platform, wherein they can enjoy the benefits of having an agent at their disposal, and
yeah,
obviously do things on their own. So I think and even making mobile friendly applications for them, because nowadays everybody's on the gadgets. So be it an iPad, be it an iPhone or any other Android mobile for that matter. But I think people want these things on the tips of their hands. So the next big thing could be make everything compatible to these devices so that you can carry technology wherever you want. You don't need to literally open a laptop and go into a website and do stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, make them more compatible with these devices so that they can have it anywhere and everywhere kind of a thing.
Interesting. Now, I always love to know what's next, Marcel. Right, that's one of the reasons why I do these
Mhm,
podcasts. I always also learn a lot myself. So
mhm.
appreciate that, Aditya.
No problem.
Um, so what if people have any questions after the podcast, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? Presumably through LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think yes, people can always reach out to me via LinkedIn. I think I'm quite a regular visitor on my profile, so I keep on checking the messages quite often. So yes, if anybody wants to know anything more and be in touch, uh, you know, because LinkedIn I think is a very wonderful place for networking. So obviously we should be connecting with the like-minded people there, and obviously learn from each other. That's the whole beauty of this community. So yes, I think LinkedIn is the right place to be.
Fantastic. Well, I recommend everybody checks out your profile, Aditya. So thank you so much for being
Thank
on
you.
the show. Really appreciate it. And
Most welcome.
as a reminder to everyone, the show is sponsored by the Consulting Launch Method, where I help experienced professionals build their own consulting business alongside a day job without spending years figuring out the business side. We've helped clients go from initial idea to first customer in 90 days and six figures within a year. To learn more, connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. Until the next episode. Thanks, Aditya.
Thank you, Vincent. Bye bye.